Time is running up. The seasons are changing. The environment is wounded. The environment has been affected by human activities. Many trees has been cut down. What are you doing to help the community? What are you doing to save the environment? Meet Dr. Sam Orach, who has been an inspiration to his community of Asher. He did quite a lot to conserve the environment and has gracefully done it. As I can tell you now, the community is full of trees, full of birds, full of insects hissing here and there, full of wild animals, and the hill is so good. Yes, Doctor, can you tell us more on how you manage to conserve all these?
About 30 years ago, the hilltop where we are living was more or less like this one you see here. Compared to the one of Gonyango, there also was more or less like this. Then we started to plant trees. My desire was to cover the whole hilltop of our village with trees. So I was ready to plant trees in any place on anybody's compound, and whoever owned that compound would own the trees. But the first reaction, people thought I was trying to take over land by planting trees, however much I counseled them. So I decided to plant around my own house, but they were still also dying. Goats were destroying, termites were destroying, the hot stones on that hill and so on were all destroying. Then I sat back and remembered that when I was young, you know, we built houses using trees just cut from around. And I asked myself, what made the difference? The goats were there at that time, sunshine was there at that time, termites were there at that time, but the trees were also there. Why can't the trees survive now? And that was when it dawned on me that I should let the natural environment take its course. Because those trees had grown naturally. They were not planted by any human being. God planted them. I should allow that to happen. So I came home about 30 years ago and decided to pass a one-man bylaw, more or less, if I may call it. No cutting of trees. If you were to cut any tree, then you could cut the branches, but not the stem. You could cut the branches. Number two, no burning of grass. The intention was that this would allow small plants, small trees grow and regenerate the environment. So as a matter of fact, over the last 30 years, that hilltop has got burnt, I think, only twice. One was by accident. Fire was burning across the Banyarwood on this side, and then a bird's nest caught fire and then was blown by wind and taken across over the river, and that was how that hilltop got burnt. The second time, a stubborn boy set fire far away and burnt the place, burnt even my trees that I had planted. I had planted a number of neem trees. They are still there, and they burnt all that place. Other than that, that hilltop has not got burnt. Other than those two times, it has not got burnt for the last 30 years. So you can compare that with this. The majority of those trees, I would say over 90%, are naturally growing trees in that place. We have just a few that we have planted around home, but even around home you will find very tall trees, vegetation, that you think have been there for several decades, you know, but they grew naturally. The only thing we have done is to protect them, you know, from being cut. We don't destroy the environment there. And it is cool. You move from Navy Town, you go there, you find it is pretty cool. Even in the night, day, it is much cooler than Navy Town. You sit in the shade, you feel it is fresh, plenty of, you know, fresh air, no pollution. It is quiet. In the morning you wake up, you hear the birds singing. birds, so beautiful. This morning I woke up, at 6, and I got out and the birds were singing, and I really felt at peace, under the trees. So that's where we are going. And I can assure you, we can do these things at various levels. Planting 2, 3, 4 trees does not require big money. One of the motivating factors to me for conserving the environment here is the fact that our father told us of how he planted one tree, what we call the white acacia. I don't know what that is, that's how it is called in English. But it is the acacia we use here as poles for the wall of our mud and wattle houses. He planted when he was a youth. He did not have money, but he planted. And the seed from that one has continued to generate, and I have made sure that behind my house there I have kept some for remembrance, to remember that this came from several decades ago when our dad planted when he was still young. He did not have money. Sheer butter tree is one of those that we want to conserve, and in almost all the fields that I have down there, I think I have about 7 in all different. Where I have sheer butter tree, we don't cut. We let them grow. This one has been here since the time I was a child. We conserve. This is very cassius. This one's on the other side. Cassius up there are remnants of the ones I planted. They are remnants. Coming from the old ones are dead. Here, where my brother has now constructed, my youngest brother has constructed here. It is from here that I went to Navy Primary School. Can you imagine running from here every morning to Navy? To the school is about 7 kilometers. We had to move from here every day. In those days there was even no road, no border. Every day, and I was a class, I think in 1971 I was a class monitor. And I had to be early in school. This very stem, which is dry here, I planted when I was in secondary school in the 1970s. Because my house was here, at this very spot. I had a house, my second house as a young boy. My first house was up there, then I built my second house here. So this was behind my house, and I planted this very cassia. Yeah, so the change in terms of vegetation can be seen by comparing with the neighboring hills across the river on this side and on the northern side, as we saw earlier. So after failing to have trees planted grow here, we decided to start first with the conservation of the naturally growing trees. Although we managed to keep a few trees like the neem here, we managed to keep, but it was really hard work trying to keep them. Today, everybody on top of this hill appreciates the importance and benefits of conserving the environment, because they find the temperature good. I mean, right now I'm feeling much better than I was feeling a short while ago when we were coming from town. So we have put it a point that everything we do here must in one way or the other contribute to regeneration of the environment. Even the animals we are keeping here, the dung, are not just thrown anyhow or left to get spoiled. We use them around, either in the pasture fields or even under some of the trees that we have planted. These are 3 years old. We planted them in 2017 is 10 acres of teak. Now the reason I chose teak, one is that teak is a hardwood that is needed, and I got the feeling, the information of how the price of teak was rising in the market. Then secondly, I consulted a lot with the National Forest Authority on what type of trees would survive well in this part of Lebi district, because Koch is relatively dry compared to just even Lebi town, the municipal council nearby here. So rain tends to come here rather late. When rain starts around April, you will get rain pouring in sufficient amount in Koch around May. So I wanted a tree that could survive. But of course, my desire of planting trees started in childhood. I have always loved to protect the environment, and I was stimulated quite a lot by my father, who told the story of the acacia tree planted during World Environment Days when he was still a youth. And today when you go to our village, you find what we call the white acacia. All that has come from that one tree which my father planted when he was a youth. And subsequently, I also started planting trees at home. People say it takes so long for teak to become useful. But in fact, first of all, look at 3 years, how these have grown. And sometimes I wonder, I see other teak trees taking long. But for me, I think there are a few reasons for that. One, people think trees and animals like goats, cows, just take care of themselves. You need to take care of them. When we planted this teak, the first time we intercropped them with maize, against the advice of the technical people. They said we should not intercrop, but we intercropped with maize. Now, one, it helped us to weed. We were weeding the maize. While we were weeding the maize, we were actually also weeding the trees. And two, I think the maize sort of gave some sort of competition. Like when you plant anything under shade, they try to struggle for light. And I think it helped the trees to grow up faster. The following year, again, I'm sorry, but against the advice of the technical people, we intercropped with the cassava. Although the cassava stems were not planted close by, but we planted cassava in this field of 10 acres. And we kept taking care of the cassava. And in that process, we were taking care of the trees. We were weeding the trees. Our motivation was to take care of the cassava, but at the same time we were taking care of the trees. So the trees grew up very fast because they were being taken care of. And now you see this size. In a few years' time, we will even be having teak that could be used for poles. And of course we don't intend to use them for poles. We want them to grow and get logged for timber. And teak is sold in terms of cubic meters. The price for teak is quite lucrative. You need to take care of everything, whether it is an animal or it is a tree. If you want to get value out of it, you have to take care of it. Now, the cost for this, I may not remember all, but I know that the seedlings costed me more than $1 million. And the weeding this field, each time I weed, the whole field costs something like 500,000 shillings to weed 10 acres. So I tend to work with the large groups of people who come and weed. The main cost is also in feeding and then giving them some money. And I'm doing the same for the eucalyptus trees which we will see. I find one important thing is you, the owner, having passion. When you don't have passion, you will not think of taking care of them. You will not think of weeding them the right time. You will not see the value. You will think you're wasting money. But also you will not be there to supervise, to ensure that whatever is being done rightly. So you need to be available. Whether it is for trees or for animals, you have to be there. Now, for animals, usually we are taught that there are three things important in taking care of animals. One is the selection of the type of animal, the species. Number 2, ensuring food for the animals. And number 3, properly managing them. Now, I find the same applies to trees. You have to select the right type of trees for a particular area and for the purpose you want. But you also have to ensure that the trees feed well. By weeding them, this grass, which are being weeded, are rotting. They're rotting on the ground. In a way, they're providing manure. They're providing compost for the trees. So they are feeding. Number 2, by weeding, you are reducing competition for food from other grasses. So you are providing them. Number 3, you have to manage them. That's why you see we do pruning. We are advised to prune twice or 3 times a year, but from experience we have found that pruning just once a year is enough. Now these ones you are seeing were pruned early this year before the COVID lockdown. They were pruned in February. So again around February, March we are going to prune, but you can see they're clean. They're largely clean. So we are going to be pruning, removing like this one here. This is what we shall do. And you will see that there's very little to prune since February this year. So that management is important. Part of the management also is to stop fire from burning the field. Every year we do fire lines, but this year we are not doing because other people have dug their gardens all around. In that respect, as part of management, you also need to maintain very good relationship with the community. There was a time, I think twice, when fire came during the day and almost could have destroyed the plantation. But the people in the community mobilized and said, we are protecting these trees. They only rang me to tell me what was going on. And they have protected. This field has never been burnt by wildfire. But now we have also been doing the fire line. Except this year we have not done because people have dug around and we don't expect any fire to happen. So the 3 things of selection of type of trees for the place and purpose that you need, and then doing management. The same principle that you use for animals. So that's what we are using here. But you see, I already had the tick down there. And I wanted some trees that can grow fast enough for me to also bring for me money earlier. So if I just continue with tick, also demand in the market varies. At some point you may not have the demand for tick, but then you have demand for something else. So I say no, I want to plant eucalyptus. What type of eucalyptus can I venture into? Now, Koch is a place where you don't get too much rain. You don't get a lot of rain in Koch. Even when up here in the municipality, rain is back. In April, you will find rain starts coming to Koch around May. So it delays. So I was in a dilemma what to do. But I decided to take the risk. And I said, well, I will not get much, but let me plant eucalyptus. So I started searching, consulting. I even came with the district forest officer of that time here. And the advice was the same, really. You go for mbule, teak, and so on. But I decided just, on my own to try eucalyptus. So I had to make a choice of what type of eucalyptus to plant. And there are 2 varieties here. Now these ones you see which have grown very fast. These are 1.5 years. We planted in May last year, 2019, when we planted this eucalyptus. And these are Eucalyptus camaldulensis. They are drought resistant to a good extent. But then we have the other varieties, especially on that side, the ones which are not growing very fast. Those ones are called the Eucalyptus terresticonis, the type you have in Achwera. They grow very slowly, so they don't need much water in order to grow. They grow slowly. If you want the very fast growing eucalyptus, like Eucalyptus grandis, Eucalyptus fortportalis, they cannot survive here. You have to go to Zombo, up, where there's plenty of rain, but also the weather is cool. That is where it can grow. But for this weather, you either go for Eucalyptus terresticonis, which is the most drought resistant. In fact, in some countries, it is used for reclaiming land. Land which is very poor, almost nothing is going to survive there. You plant Eucalyptus terresticonis. It will survive. After some years, the leaves will be falling down on the ground and rotting slowly, like forming compost for the area. Then you can decide to remove the eucalyptus, because now, after many years, the compost from the leaves will have regenerated the soil. So you can use it for reclaiming, but also the roots will have been holding the soil together in it. So you can either go for that, but I chose to have a mixture of the two. One which can also grow a little faster, drought resistant, but less resistant than the terresticonis. That is the camaldulensis. These ones that you are seeing, which have grown tall here. We are continuously doing surveillance for the termites. The same threat of termites. We destroyed the termites. So far, I'm not sure if some new ones are coming, but we destroyed the termites. But we have realized that it is very easy to deal with termites. So what we do is that we dig the termite out until we bring out the queen. We bring out the queen, and then we pour anti-termite chemicals into it, and then we destroy the termite hill. So these are new ones, and we are going to kill these ones. There are now 2. There used to be several. I think there were almost 20. We had plenty of them there. We have destroyed them, and we need to continue with the surveillance. Our main other threat is an insect, or gongoro. It is quite big like this. It cuts the tree sort of round. Initially, I was very disturbed because I thought people were cutting the trees, until when they showed me. And you can see here, there is a sign that this is not cut with the panga. It is a sign of something pecking here. It pecks around until the tree falls. Now the other one it has pecked even much higher up. This one is here. The tree is not dead. It will sprout just like when you cut any eucalyptus tree, but it retards the growth. So what we do is that actually it is the people in this village that we are in very good relationship with. They're the ones who are now hunting those. They have already caught some, and they keep doing even another one there. You see, it goes up there and it cuts. So this is for us the biggest threat, much more than termite. It's the biggest threat, and there's no way, we have not discovered how we can eradicate them from the field. We don't know where they sleep, where they stay in the holes, where you can dig. We don't know whether you can use an insecticide to kill them, because you don't know exactly where they're hiding. So that is for us the biggest threat, and we are trying to investigate, to understand them a little bit more and see how we can eradicate them. But as I mentioned earlier, for the rest of the trees, you can see the camaldulensis growing very well. Now the terresticonis are scattered in between because we brought them in to fill a gap. We planted some terresticonis on the other side, but others we kept using for filling gaps, backfilling where some trees had died. Then we were planting the terresticonis. Because we planted them a little bit late, we wanted to use terresticonis so that they would not die, they would be resistant. But the terresticonis grow very slowly, but we are happy because we know eventually they will grow. That one is not a problem. The camaldulensis are growing faster. We shall start harvesting camaldulensis earlier. Yeah. Now, Usually for eucalyptus, you plant by 2 by 2, 2 meters by 2 meters. But you can see generally for various reasons, after about maybe 6 years or so, we shall start cutting some for poles, selling, and leaving some to go for timber. Now, by the time you leave, if you cut this one for poles, then you leave this one for timber. By the time this is maturing, is being cut for timber, this other one will have grown. Then at that point, you let this one grow into timber. Now the ones you have cut here will be sprouting. So you keep alternating like that. Yeah. If everybody could plant a few trees, even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a year, and you take care of it around your home, from goats and so on, it will survive. And if everybody did that, every year we would have plenty. In one way or the other, that is contributing to the environment. And you can see all the trees around. This tree is called this grew by itself. It's a prego. There we have some others that we are conserving. So a variety of trees would do. If you go around here, you can count perhaps hundreds of different types of trees that are growing naturally here. Conserving the environment now does not require you to plant. You simply need to resolve a bit that this area we shall not burn, we shall not cut. It is already planted by God. You just need to resolve to do that. And you need to pass that into the minds of everybody in the family. Children and everybody in the family needs to appreciate that. Then it becomes easy for you to conserve that environment. So my message to people is that let's all embrace protection of the environment which is there. Let us contribute to regenerating environment where it is difficult to plant. We protect that environment so that the trees, the vegetation comes up by itself. On this hill, we have seen trees which had disappeared coming back. There's a tree we call lando. I don't know the name in English. Somewhere down there in one of my paddocks. It has grown into a big tree. I identified it when it was very small, because we were no longer burning. When I was moving around, I found it very small, and we conserved it. Now it is big. It is providing seeds to germinate elsewhere. Let us do that, and where possible, let us try to plant also other trees that we can use for other things. You can be trees that are fruit trees, but also can be trees that can provide for us shade around the home. It might be trees that can eventually give you some timber, but plant a few trees every year, maybe even if it is less than 10. I think that's what I would really tell people. And let us not wait that it is government that will do it. We have seeds of, like for example here I have teak. What am I doing with the seeds of teak? You can collect, go and plant. There are seedlings that come out by themselves. Those who want are picking, are going to plant. So we have almost no excuse for doing that. The other thing is that when you want to plant, you need to do good timing. Timing of the tree. The best time to plant trees is during the first rain season. So that by the time the year is ended, they have received enough rain and they have grown, the roots have gained ground, they have got established, and they will not easily be killed by the dry season. And as I mentioned earlier, trees are like animals. You select the right trees for the right purpose, for the right area, you plant, but also ensure that they can feed. Take care of them like you're taking care of human beings and manage them very well. The third thing is really management. Where pruning is needed, you prune them. Pruning will also ensure that food is best used for growth rather than for branches of of the trees, but it will also help you have good stems of trees, especially when you are making them for poles. So I want to encourage everybody, not only in Greater Navy, but everywhere else. Let us make environment regeneration, environment protection our personal responsibilities.